Hi guys, welcome to this installment of the Vontolken Diaries. It's going to be the last installment I do for this year. I'm going to take a break over Christmas and New Year in order to concentrate on some other things I'm doing that I want to finish before I leave South Africa, which at this point is on the 16th of Jan. It may be extended depending on work and things like that, but at this point I'm leaving then. So this will be the last entry until the new year, and I'll also just do one more article. If anyone follows the Curation of Man, the website I do, I'll do one more article just talking about Christmas or something, and then leave that off until the new year as well. So I'm going to follow up with from the last video with the second kind of installment around sex, and this is going to be about porn. For me, porn has been a really major influence in my life. First, let me say, I don't think there's anything wrong with porn in itself. I think it can be a really great way for people who don't want to partake in certain sexual activities but have interest in them to explore their sexuality, explore themselves, understand themselves better sexually. But for me, it went beyond that. For me, it actually became my main way of being sexual for a very long time. I was so depressed and so confused about sex and so guilt-ridden about sex and being gay that porn became my major outlet for experiencing sex, because I was able to do it by myself, explore things that I may have felt others would think were wrong or were strange or whatever, without anyone knowing. Like I could watch anything I wanted to, obviously within reason, but could watch anything I wanted to without anyone knowing what I was watching. And I could then feel like I've explored myself and I'm being part of the sexual world without involving other people. Now, of course, I did have had boyfriends and have had sex and all that. But what really happened was, more often than not, porn became like a drug to me. So I've never been a drinker. I've never been taken drugs really at all. I've done nothing really. I've been very kind of, very straight, ironically. But porn became that for me. Whenever I was depressed or anxious or nervous, I would turn to porn because I could get out of my world and feel like in my own little cocoon. And I think that was because, in one part, because sex was such a strange thing for me. And you do, like I said in the last video, in religion, it's kind of obsessed with sex in a weird way. But on the other hand, it was also because I just, like I said in the last video as well, I have a high sex drive. I've always had a high sex drive. So I had urges and desires and wanted to do things, but without involving other people for fear of what they would think of me or feel of me. And I couldn't work through that guilt and didn't want other people to know what I enjoyed or who I was. For the most part. There were people obviously I let in, but on the whole I didn't. And so from there, when I would actually have sex, my watching the porn would actually affect how I had sex. I mean, first of all, it made me nervous a lot of the time that I would not be able to perform, which wasn't really a problem, but it made me nervous because so much of my sexual energy would go elsewhere. So it just made me nervous, more nervous anyway, than I would have been just from feeling the guilt about sex. But second, it made me kind of, I think I would implement kind of a porn-like behavior during sex, which I don't think is always terrible. Sometimes it can be an all right thing, but I think it took that to get me aroused. Like, it was hard to just, I say this, but then I think back and I go, well, actually, it probably wasn't, but it was just instinctive for me, rather. that it's just that's how I knew sex more than not. And so now it's something I feel like an alcoholic who can never have a drink again. I try not to watch porn or anything because it just feels like it does something different to my brain at this point in time. I don't know. When I spoke to doctors about it, they said to me that it's not actually an addiction. So perhaps once I work through more stuff, it won't. I'll be able to in the future and feel like it's not going to then cause any issues. I don't know. But it was in such a bad place for me at one point in time that I actually went to a Sex Addicts Anonymous meeting. Now, keep in mind, I wasn't having sex at this point. I wasn't having sex at all. But I felt so addicted to this kind of sexual thoughts and porn and stuff that I thought it was important for me to go to something like this. So really it did have a massive impact on my life, and it took a lot of time. And so this has how it relates to me not really being able to achieve my dreams, because my mind, I had no healthy outlet for my anxiety, for my depression, for my thing. And this was my major outlet, really was. And so a lot of time went into this. I used to have, I apologize, but I used to have sessions where I would be there for like hours. So it really was, and it was my way of, again, locking myself away from the world. And that was never going to help my anxiety or my depression, really. It was just going to feel like a Band-Aid for a second, but then I felt even more disconnected from everyone, which then just made it harder for me to feel connected in my acting or in my performing or anything else I did. And it gave me no energy or no inspiration. It just made my depression worse and gave me no inspiration to get up and do things. I just wanted to be by myself all the time. And of course, this impacted my relationships and it was all a mess of shit. But I just want to reiterate, I don't think it's a bad thing. I think the way I used it was bad, and I say bad, but it wasn't healthy for me. But I don't think that you can always, porn can be a healthy outlet for sure. And I think there are a lot of people out there who still look at it in a way that is unfair and that is negative when it shouldn't be. That is everything I wanted to say about porn. I wanted to wish you guys a really Merry Christmas. I hope everyone has a really happy and safe holiday period. I appreciate anyone who has joined me for any of these videos, be it one, be it two, be it all of them. I know they're long and it's just me rambling on, so I appreciate even if you only watch like 20 seconds of it. Doesn't matter. I really appreciate anyone watching them. And sending love to everyone. Have a great Christmas, have a great New Year, Hanukkah, have a great holiday period. Whatever you celebrate, whatever you don't celebrate, just be safe, be happy, and I'll see you in the new year. Much love.